Good afternoon. We Americans place a high value on freedom. It's no stretch of the imagination to say that freedom stands at the heart of our national identity. Freedom is important to us as Christians as well. For example, as Paul wrote in the 5th chapter of Galatians, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. So, what does it mean spiritually to be free? Our friend John Calvin, the spiritual forefather of us Presbyterians, gives us an answer. He says that there are three parts to Christian freedom. First is freedom from the law. We no longer are obligated to follow the law in order to earn God's favor. I'll get back to the second and just mention the third. The third freedom is that we're free to be indifferent about indifferent things. There are many things in this world that we can have differences of opinion and conviction about, and it's perfectly fine. But let's get back to the second of Calvin's three Christian freedoms. It is the freedom to obey God willingly. We are free to serve God. Now, to our ears, that might sound like an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms. How can we be set free in order to serve? After all, doesn't freedom mean that we don't have to serve anyone or anything and we're free to do whatever we want to do? That's a common understanding of freedom. But that's not how we as Christians understand freedom. Let's talk about someone, not John Calvin, who lived several centuries ago. Let's get a little bit closer to our time, and let's talk about Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan converted to Christianity, and after he did so, he wrote a song called "Gotta Serve Somebody." And the chorus of his song goes something like this: no matter who you are, you're going to have to serve somebody. It may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody. John Lennon didn't like that song. He didn't like what Dylan was expressing, so he wrote a parody instead, and he wrote a song that says, "You gotta serve yourself. Ain't nobody gonna do for you." Dylan recognized a foundational part of what it means to be a human being. We have been built to serve. We have been built to be subject to something or somebody. Pure, total, unfettered freedom to do or to be whatever we want is an illusion, because our hearts will naturally gravitate towards serving or obeying something. What is it that we may serve it? It may be our nation, it may be your career, it might be your family, perhaps it's an addiction, or maybe some pleasurable pursuit or hobby. Maybe what you serve is seeking the approval of other people. The list goes on and on and on. You might even be like John Lennon, where the one that you serve is yourself, making yourself the most important thing of all. Now, in the Bible, we have a name for these things that we may serve other than God: an idol. An idol, when it becomes the focus of our lives, shapes our lives so that our lives take on the form of our idol. For example, Psalm 115 describes those who make idols and then says, "Those who make them will be like them, and so will all who trust in them." You see, the problem for us is that on our own, we can never free ourselves from the idols around us. They will always hold a grasp upon us. They will constantly shape and influence who we are, whether we like it or not. I said that we were built and designed to serve someone or something, but that's only part of it. We were built and designed to serve the Lord. The fullest expression of what it means to be a human is to live a life focused on God. It is only then that we discover the satisfaction and peace that we desire so desperately. You're not going to find it in a self-focused life like the one that John Lennon sang about. That's simply another form of bondage, an other way that blocks us from the fullness of Christ. Let's go back to Paul and what he wrote to the Galatians. The first verse of chapter 5 begins, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free." But then Paul goes on and says, "Stand firm then. Do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." Christ has set us free. He enables us to break free from the shackles of our desires, our passions, our fears, our sense of obligation, the idols that we surround ourselves, even the idol of ourself. Christ removes everything that blocks the way for our full devotion for the Lord. What is it that you need Christ to set you free from? What holds you back from being his wholehearted disciple and follower? What prevents you from experiencing and being the one whom God created you to be? Whatever it is, I invite you to lay it at the cross of Jesus so that you will be set free in order to be his servant. Would you pray with me, please? Lord, we live in a world surrounded by idols, and even if there aren't any around us, we create them for ourselves. We truly are those who serve, who bind ourselves to something or someone. By the power of your death and resurrection, O Jesus, set us free from everything that would enslave us, so that we may serve you, and in serving you, discover what true freedom is all about. Amen. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.